commercial.
Yeah, why are you
new
so
commercial.
quiet?
Call the Planning and Zoning Committee into session. We do have a quorum, it appears. And with that, I think we need to look at the minutes first, and then we'll ask if any comments. Anybody have any problem with the minutes?
I need a copy of the minutes.
I'm sorry.
Got your own.
Thought we had a copy.
Something wrong with her.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve the minutes, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved, do we have anybody from the public who'd like to make any comments? Hearing none, we'll move ahead with our meeting tonight. Tom, I've been asked that we address 2024-005 first.
Okay.
I wanted to make it.
This was recommended for approval by the planning commission, however, it will be going back before the planning commission anyways, because after the fact, my staff realized either in the advertisement or in the agenda that was presented to the planning commission, it was missing the back page of the amendment.
Like
So,
we hadn't read it
You think
15
they'll change,
times.
Tom, you think they'll change it again?
I
You
don't
think
know.
planning commission will
I-
just vote?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I give it even money if we change it here at the planning and zoning committee anyway, so.
We can keep passion on that. Okay, then restart now.
All right,
Here we go. I just won
$10
$10
So we're looking for a motion to accept.
that was the doctor, sorry about that. Chair apologizes.
Blake won $10 for passing.
Huh?
Blake said he won $10 for passing.
Yeah, okay, good.
That means we can officially.
We get a racket, we get a racket going, and I get people calling me every 5
$10
minutes.
off of you whether the phone is ring or not.
Oh,
Surely you can take
I
that
wouldn't
deal.
have taken that bet. The only way was when it would ring that I called.
And we'll now stay focused on the.
Yes, sir.
Comments,
So,
go ahead.
no, do I need to explain it to anybody?
I'll make
This-
Yeah.
let's go ahead and make a motion to accept this page here into it. That's what you need.
Is that the 600 feet and the dumpster? Okay, we have a motion to accept changes in red, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir.
Tommy?
Yeah, on pages 5 and 6, I
That's
suppose.
correct, we have a motion to accept the new structure, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Saying no discussion, we're ready to vote. All in favor of making the changes is included in red, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Moving on to the other issue. Tom?
The other issue is, we started out with an amendment a couple, maybe 2 to 3 months ago at the planning commission to take parking on the street out of our zoning ordinance as an enforceable issue, simply because it's a
Repeat process.
it's a terribly difficult process to enforce. It's a repetitive process. Very seldom do we get long-term
Success.
satisfaction and success out of it. That being said, Sheriff Ash asked that we defer it at the planning commission, or Commissioner Ash asked that we defer it at the planning commission to talk to the current sheriff, Sheriff Bryan. We did do that. Sheriff Bryan and his staff were generally okay with us taking it out. However, I think they wanted the support in complaints about on-street parking in neighborhoods, because they get them too. And the only thing they can do is write a ticket if somebody's in front of a fire hydrant or if somebody's truly obstructing traffic flow. So what we arrived at after talking with the sheriff was not to take it out. We'll leave the prohibition from on-street parking on a regular basis as it's written now in the zoning ordinance, but we would add a paragraph, and that is 3.52. Parking enforcement by zoning required homeowners associations and/or zoning required property owners association and/or developer or other entity maintaining control of common areas. It says where homeowners associations or property owners associations or other entities are required to maintain and undertake custodial responsibilities for common areas, associated regulations are to include regulation against daily on-street parking. These HOAs and property APOAs and other responsible entities shall be the first line of enforcement where issues arise regarding routine parking on public right of way.
That's better, right?
It is, that doesn't do a lot, but basically what it says is before the homeowners association president or their manager, which is becoming more often the case from Timmons Realty or somewhere else, calls us and wants us to enforce the parking requirement, they gotta show us at least proof that they've been trying to enforce it. And then, on a particular address they're complaining about. The other thing that is going to happen, one of the big difficulties we've had is somebody will complain about these people are parking every night on the street. Well, our operation hours for enforcement are 8 to 4, maybe 8 to 4:30 or 5, 7:30 to 4:30 or 5. So we go out there. There may be a car there. There may not be. If there's not a car there, we don't have anything to send a letter about or knock on the door about. What we're gonna do in those instances is we're going to contact the sheriff's office with that address and have their patrolman go by after hours. And if they find the condition that has been complained about to be true, that there's a car parked there, they will go and knock on the door and explain to them, we're not here to write you a ticket. However, we do want you to know that this may be a zoning violation. You may very well receive a letter. They'll document it, take pictures of it, and send us the report and or pictures, and we'll send a letter of violation out on that. Based on it's another county personnel that's effectively provided us evidence. So those are the two things. That's a practice. It's not in the ordinance, but I just want you to know sort of where we're at on it.
Sure.
And we're gonna try that, and Sheriff Brown was like, we can try that for 5 or 6 months. If it still don't work, we can go back, take the section out.
He's agreed to do that.
Well, that's kind of what our discussion was, yes.
What, where does it become legal for the sheriff's department to actually write a ticket on a vehicle?
If they're in
for
front of a
parking?
hydrant, well, I don't know everything, but I know one
I
thing.
guess I'm probably putting you in a bad spot,
If they're-
because that's a question for the sheriff.
It is, but my understanding from discussion with them is if they're in front of a hydrant or if they're obstructing, visibility at an intersection, or if they're obstructing traffic flow to the point that traffic cannot pass by. For instance, if there's a car parked on this side of the street and a car parked on this side of the street,
One lane.
you're left to one lane that
I tell you-
obstructs traffic.
I tell you where this gets to be a real issue for me. I had
Yeah.
a case here 3 or 4 years ago where a lady down Masters View off Logan
Uh-huh.
Road, she was calling, and I went down there at night with her, elderly lady, her and her husband. Their concern was the children, and the street was lined solid with cars both sides. Kids coming off the sidewalk, coming out from in between those cars, people coming home from work. It was a real safety issue. And I talked to Robert at that time, and really, we never resolved anything about it. But if we're gonna have something, we need to have something where the sheriff's department can truly enforce it. If not, it's just a waste of your time.
Well, I mean,
So my question
To date,
is
I
does
would
this need
agree.
to stay something that's involved in zoning and planning? Or is this something that needs to be
I
looked
don't,
at from law
I don't think it's,
enforcement?
as long as it's a part of zoning, we will make every effort to enforce it just like we do the rest of the zoning ordinance. But I will tell you, we, in our 6 to 7 to 8 years of enforcing this particular provision, it's not been one that has, resulted in a lot of, satisfactory.
To make it short,
results.
as long as it's under your jurisdiction and nothing against you, your thought when I say this, y'all are not equipped to do anything with it.
No, not really. We can't write a ticket immediately.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
the other thing is, we treat it like a zoning violation. We send them a notice if they don't do it.
Second
And
notice.
we send them a second notice, and then we turn it over to the county attorney for court action. 4 years later, the people that were parking their car might not even live there, you know?
But my
So-
question is, and I don't know what it requires to do it, and I don't like seeing people get tickets. I certainly don't want one myself. But if you ticket somebody and they're fined, it will get their attention.
Yeah.
Well, I know, I may be the only one that lives in a HOA with the
Definitely.
Bicycle Association. You do?
No.
Okay. I'm not gonna-
They run me
I
out.
do know that, it works. We have a situation two doors down from us, down on the corner. my wife and I leave for Sunday school at 5 minutes to 7 on Sunday morning. We do 7:30 Sunday school. There's 11 cars parked there. 4 in the driveway, 4 on the Oregon Drive, and 3 on the church let down. L State, every Sunday morning. So I sent our HOA president a note, said, you need to have John Kidd, the HOA manager, send them a letter. He did, and what's happening now. Now, if it restarts, I'll call John Kidd myself.
Well, and I mean, personally, I'm okay with that if the HOA will take it up.
Yeah.
What I'm,
Well, I mean,
what
that's
I'm
what
not
this-
always appreciative of is when the HOA uses us as their whipping post to go out there and do it. I mean, if,
Has ours done that? 'Cause it's-
no, not, I don't think so. And when I'll be as forthright as I can, we've got some people that will call and complain on every address but theirs in a particular neighborhood, you know, every year, every summer. And we'll go down there and find the ones that are on the street we can and knock on the door and say, hey, you need to move the car. It's kind of 80-20 rule, 80% of people, oh, yeah, I'll move it. Well, and they might move it that day, but next day or 2 weeks from now, it's back.
Right.
And, you know, not on this particular issue, we don't get a lot of people just terribly belligerent, but if you do, I mean, all you can do is turn them over for court action for a zoning violation. And
I live in the city of Mount Juliet, and they have the most unique way, and I've probably brought this up before, but they, from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning to legal parking street. And their police officers go by and they put a warning ticket on the windshield wiper. Rest of the time, it's an illegal parking
Now,
street.
and now I will tell you another issue that's coming, because I know Lebanon has enforced this. We have not been called to enforce it out in the county, but you've got a lot more churches having what's called house church or life groups.
I was
meeting
gonna ask you.
Meeting at a house. And I'm telling you,
What you run up.
that
No.
is not something that, in my humble opinion, we want to delve into, whether it be police enforcement or us enforcement. Right now, in the city of Lebanon, on occasion, if the HOA or homeowners begin calling the police, they will come out and respond to Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening house churches and say, hey, you're causing a violation of city policies or whatever, you need to move these cars and kind of break up. I think that's walking a thin line on legalities, given the wide berth that churches and religious entities are given in this country and in this state.
So,
I have a question.
this has nothing to do, I guess, with zoning appeals, but, it does deal with the sheriff's department and their coordination and their cooperation in the situation. I was leaving to go somewhere late in the afternoon, and I meet a four-wheeler coming down Springmont, okay, illegal. So I back up in the driveway and I follow the guy. So he runs the stop sign at Springmont and Brookside, turns left. So I turn left, I stop at the stop sign, I see him, he's parked over here in the left-hand lane, so I pull up next to him, or I just rolled the window and slid down. I said, you notice illegal had a vehicle on Bogey Street. I said, I'm gonna call the sheriff. I was kidding. He said, call him. I said, okay, I picked up my phone. So he took off. He runs the stop sign, that three-way stop at Brownleaf and Brookside. He runs the four-way at Brownleaf and Churchill. He goes on down, and I'm on the line now with the dispatcher. She says, don't danger yourself. I said, I'm staying about 200 yards behind. I said, he knows I'm back here because he's trying to shoot me a bird every time. Okay. So I follow him all the way home. I mean, he runs every stop sign. I follow him all the way home. He pulls into a cul-de-sac, gets off his ATV, and I said, okay, he's home. Here's his address. She said, the deputy's on his way. I ain't seen him since. So they will respond.
I had no idea you were Karen.
Hey, Mark, get like a lawn story.
34 years ago, I was one of them kids that was in Springmont running around
Yeah,
and
I
stuff.
still do.
And so,
Don't you?
that's why, because I grew up in Springmont. It's good to say that some things don't change.
He wouldn't like the blade at all.
Well, I got a little girl who lives down the street that comes over on and stays till about dark, and she's 12, and I said, you cannot do that. I said, you do it one more time. I already told your mother, I told your daddy. I said, next time I'm gonna tell the sheriff.
What's
She
the
said, "You know
committee's,
me?" And I said,
I'm
"Yeah,
good.
I am."
got a question over here?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I just have a couple of questions. And,
Now, you said you
They
had
meant-
one.
well, I've come up with two since
He had to wait
yeah, I had to wait for this story about the four-wheelers.
for Karen.
Then bird shooting.
Yeah. Maybe I'm new to this discussion about the on-street parking. But we keep talking about how the sheriff can't do anything legally unless they're blocking the flow of traffic.
Right.
So then my question to that is, if they're not blocking the flow of traffic, what's the problem?
It's 28-foot wide curb and gutter street section in most new neighborhoods. So that's plenty big to have a car parked on the side of the road and have two cars still be able to pass. Now, where the problem might arise is if you've got truly people parking at every road. And the
Right.
one thing we have done, and this probably predates that ordinance, Jeff Joins had asked us to look into, in our subdivision ordinance, or our subdivision regulations, we've passed a requirement that every driveway have side-by-side two spaces at a minimum.
Yeah.
Not stackable, but you
Yeah.
gotta have enough
Right.
width in the driveway to have side-by-side.
I'm
But
kinda
then their
like,
driveways are about as long as this
Yeah.
this table here.
That's true.
And so where do their guests park?
No,
You know?
Well, the theory was the garage held two and the driveway would hold at least two.
But the garages are full like
But the
mine.
garages are full, you ride down the road. and
Okay,
then
they-
on the land,
they-
they-
I'm lucky to get my lawnmower in my garage, so I,
on a 28-foot pavement, the only time I see that there'd be a problem would be emergency vehicles getting in and out.
Right.
That could very well be a problem.
It was in 17, we did it in
Yep.
17. And
They put a
I had
dually
school
over the
bus that was
side.
parking on the street.
So maybe
Make it tough.
require the street to be wider
Yeah.
then if we're gonna
The-
let them have these short driveways.
the one thing I can say that has been something that's valid that I've had to go in on, really, there were other violations. It was somebody running a kind of an out of scale lawn, landscaping business, like
And all their employees were coming
lawnmowers, and they had that, they were parking their lawnmower trailer on the street every night.
Yeah.
And, you know, regardless of whether it was causing a real obstruction on the road, they were they were out of scale for a home occupation in the neighborhood anyway.
What was the second question, Blake?
It was about the driveways.
Okay.
You know, why do we have this if
30-foot setback, 30-foot driveway.
right? But like I said, the driveway you can barely. My brother's neighborhood is not that old, or it's not that new, and of
What
course he
neighborhood?
has a 2-car garage that's one door, which is really a 1-car garage, and then his driveway is you could barely fit 2 vehicles in it, and maybe because he has a long truck, but you could never fit another car in front of his truck. You might could fit 2 Mini Coopers on the other side of his truck, and so he has
His truck's too
people.
big.
He has a life group
He's gonna
that
drop
sometimes
it.
meets at his home, and of course we have a big family, and so we do park on the street. And
Then we have to start coming to your house.
well, I do have a lot more room. They do come to our house, but yeah, I just don't understand why we would, other than people just don't like to see somebody parking on the street. Why there is an ordinance?
I
It
think
might
that,
be with regard to what Tommy brought up about
Like what I was
kids.
talking about, I had the same opinion as you when I went down there that night and spent a little time with those folks. But by the time people park on each side, and of course, they don't pull right up to the curb, they're setting out 2 foot from the curb. 8-foot wide cars, so they're taking up 10 foot on each side if one's parked on each side.
That leaves 18
Okay,
feet.
that means you've got to pay a lot of attention when you drive down through there, just to make sure you don't clip mirrors.
And-
Okay, well, then you add this factor of kids, and I mean, this particular neighborhood, we'll all go down there if you want to, I'm sure it's still the same way. But there was kids up and down the sidewalk, crossing the street, and they just
skateboards, bicycles.
shooting right out between those 2 cars, you know, parked. I mean, I tell you what was on my mind, I can't imagine what would happen to me if I was driving down through there even sensibly and hit one of those children and have to live with that.
Yeah, we
Well,
have
that-
a little
that-
walkers
That's
now.
what stuck in my
That
mind.
happened in a case I had about 2 years ago when I pulled up and turned left and looked down the hill. It's a dead end. But it's 30 feet from the house to the street and no sidewalks, and the street was literally the kids' playground. and there was nothing but kids and bicycles and skateboards in the street. Of course, everybody was home, everything was quiet in the neighborhood.
Cul-de-sac.
I mean, in my mind, Tom's sort of leading us to say that the sheriff wants to leave this in place, I think's where we're
I
going.
think they would be more comfortable leaving it in place for now.
And
For whatever, I don't know all the reasons.
in
but-
my mind, I would love to see the sheriff step up and have us have some type of ordinance that, and use common sense with it. When it deems it, if you need to write somebody a ticket to keep somebody from getting hurt, that's what they should do.
It just doesn't make, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but it just
Wait a
doesn't make
minute, you
sense
got
to me.
two and you've already used them.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It just doesn't
Make
make sense to
exception.
me to have this be under Tom's purview
Exactly.
and not and not have it under the sheriff, if we're gonna do
Well,
something like
that
this.
was where I was headed with that. I mean,
But I will
Because they're
say
only open
this,
so many hours a day.
I got the feeling that the sheriff appreciated us adding this clause into zoning too, because they could
Yeah.
lean on that too, I think, about, make the HOAs, if they're gonna start squawking about this, they need to,
well, what about,
Police it.
what about the
Yeah.
neighborhood, the existing neighborhoods that don't have HOAs, Tom?
Yeah,
That's
there's-
the county's full.
there are a lot of old
And the
ones.
parking is just a bigger problem than a
Yeah.
lot of them. You just,
They are, because they're older and dated, because they don't have two
but we
side-by-side
can't do away
parking.
with them.
No.
Older and dated, better
The
kids.
only good thing about that is we don't have a lot of small lots, other than out on the lake, out in the county, that are old and dated. We might have some cluster provisions that are newer.
Right there where you told me that you grew up, drive up and down.
Springmont?
Yeah, all
Yeah,
those streets.
Springmont's got huge roads though,
Yeah.
plenty of room to run your
Well,
four-wheeler.
I
and
was
run
there before,
down.
That's right.
But
Speed
what-
by and
but
show
what
people you
I'm
knew what.
Saying small lots, lots of
Back up and follow.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
Could we defer this and ask for the sheriff to come and meet with us on
Pardon?
it and maybe?
I said, we have 1,000 times. Where have you been?
No, not since I've been involved, we haven't.
I'm under no huge pressure on either one of the amendments that are before you tonight, so,
Well, one of them's already passed. What's your recommendation on this?
well, I mean, I wrote them, so.
We thought you might have changed your mind.
Good answer.
I'm gonna respond.
Yeah, you're gonna be.
I had a planner that used to say, I just write this stuff. He was a- that planner.
Robert,
I make
I
a
don't know,
motion
I'd
to
write this-
reapprove
I
as
don't know that
presented.
we got a motion to approve as written.
Well, no, I thought he wanted to defer it.
Did you put that in form of motion?
To defer it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Okay. We got a.
If somebody
quiet
interrupted me again.
Everybody stand down a minute. We got a motion to defer it, from.
Till we could get with the sheriff.
Till we could get with the
And
sheriff.
ask his opinions of what could be done to improve the quality of life.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I thought Tom's already done that
Well, we've had plenty of discussion, yes.
No, no.
with the
and
sheriff.
I have talked to the sheriff, but that's okay if y'all wanna talk to the sheriff.
Well, I mean, the sheriff may walk in or send one of his representatives and say, there's nothing we can do, we all approve that, and that'd be the end of it, but, I don't see what a 30 days or whenever we meet again would be the end of the world. It's wink all you want.
So,
At least you ain't talking.
So you want to defer for 30 days
Until we-
and
whatever we
ask the
can-
sheriff or his representative to come and
Or to whenever.
tell us what they will and will not enforce?
Yeah, I mean, if they would come and say that we need some type of ordinance passed, that we could,
They'd feel
give
more,
them,
they'll feel
if
more
we could give
comfortable
them
with.
some teeth to
Yeah.
work with the situation, I'm all in favor of doing that.
They are
Okay, we got-
county roads, Tommy, you know that.
I know that.
Yeah, we got a motion and a second, we got discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Deferred for 30 days. Let's have a count. 1, 2. Okay, motion fails as I read the numbers. Do we have another motion? Committee,
Make a motion that we approve it as presented.
we have a motion to approve it as presented. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have any other discussion? Thank you very much. If no discussion, call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Did you vote?
I did.
Did you vote aye?
I did. I know what I'm beat.
Sorry?
I know what I'm beat.
All opposed, like sign. The ayes have it, and we'll move on. Any other business come before you, business, old business?
No, sir.
Okay, with that, we'll entertain one more motion.
Motion adjourned.
Way to
Sure.
go, Cameron.
Right.